Thank you, Chris. Okay, so I wanted to call the March 14th, 2023 LSP Board Regulations meeting to order. Online, we have James, Gail, Paul, Patrick, Kurt, David, Craig, Deb, Millie, Matt, and of course, our IT phenom, Chris Borges. Did I miss anyone? Good. Okay. All right. So on the 10th, I sent everything that we have completed so far. And I hope you had a chance to look at it. If not, there's always next month. But we really are getting very close to moving the process along to next steps, finalizing the packet. So that said, there is formatting to be done because I know things are all askew in terms of the formatting with the changes we've made. And because we're going to be adding online applications and fees, I've listed all those sections that it might impact. And I wondered if anyone has had time to think about some kind of boilerplate language that we can use. Okay. What I will do is draft some online language for our next meeting to, and I guess that's appropriate because I know it, you know, what we're going, the capabilities of the portal are going to be. So I'll try and draft some boilerplate language, excuse me, for you board members to review. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Yeah, right. I'm sure. I'm sure it sounds good. Poor me. Okay. All right. That takes care of that. Thank you, guys. And then we have advisory rulings that we still have to look at. And also, I wanted to ask whether or not there was any part of 309 CMR 3.00 other than continuing ed that you wanted to take a look at.
Which document did you want me to open up, Beverly? Since there are
the reg. They're open the regs 3.0. I don't know if you have 3.00, Chris. You have 3.09. Why don't you throw that one up? And we can talk about it. I don't remember. I'm relying on our collective memory because we spent so much time on 3.09. And thank you, Kathy, if you're online, for working with us on that part, working with me on that part of it. But I didn't know if there was anything up to 3.09 that we should revise. And this covers the licensing exam, the application for licensure, or the interviews. I don't think that we thought there were a lot of changes to be made in those sections. Any comments? Okay. What I will do for that is that's one of the sections where it gets the boilerplate language that I'm going to develop about online. So specifically the application for licensure 3.09 I will look at for boilerplate. I'm sorry, 3.03, pardon me.
So Beverly, is it the ones you sent around on Friday? Was it Friday?
Yes, Friday.
Is it possible to see a red line strikeout version so I don't go through all the things that we never touched? You know, it'd be quicker to go through if I know exactly what sections that we made changes in.
For which section?
For the whole, you know, each section of the regs that we made any changes to. If I could see where those were, I could focus on that rather than having to read the entire thing and think that it's okay when maybe it missed something that I didn't even realize we were changed, you know, that we had changed or something.
Okay, so let me, yes, I can do that. That's a more complicated exercise because I've got a million of these files in my library, so I can do it.
The
but
most
let me just,
one is,
yeah,
is
but I'm sorry, go ahead, Gail.
I was going to say maybe the most recent one, but then I realized you probably incorporated some of the changes, and the most recent ones only have the recent changes. You're right. It may be harder
Well,
to do.
it is going to be complicated. I do have the red line strikeouts, but what I sent on Friday includes all of the corrections for all of the sections that you have, except 5.0.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to do is avoid having to read stuff that we never changed.
I know, but you got to read it. Yeah, Gail, but you have to read it anyway for formatting for this final review.
Oh, okay.
Do you know?
All right. Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying? I can certainly do that. But I think it's going to be complicated. So let me just say, for example, Kathy sent me 3.09 and Deb sent me 7.00. So I have the red line strikeouts as we're required to pursuant to reg promulgation laws. Keep those. But I have put Deb's corrections, I have put the board's corrections of the whole section. That's what you have right now.
Yep.
Okay.
But if it just helps me to follow along with where I want to focus, I think, more than anything else. And I understand the reading through it, but that's not the same thing as making sure we captured what we meant to capture. Or
okay.
That's all.
Okay. Well, every time, and as I have always done, every time we have a regulations meeting, you guys give me, for example, on the 14th, we had Greg's corrections to specific sections, and the very next meeting, those corrections are in. So actually, Greg gave me corrections in November, and our next meeting was February 14th, and his corrections were in there. But so
Beverly, question.
Yes.
So as we move into the next steps, is like the public comment draft or whatever that goes out, is that required to be like a complete like red line strikeout version, or is it just like the new version?
It's everything.
No, I think what he means is, do we send out like a red line strikeout version with it so people can see where the differences are? Is that what you meant?
Not for public comment.
Okay.
Not for public,
Okay.
you know, because the next, and actually that's a good reminder, Jamie, because at the next meeting, I'm going to do a reg promulgation refresher. I'll keep it short. Since we haven't done that in a while, I think the last time Ann Lowry came in and talked about it, and years before that I had done it. So I will prepare that for the April meeting. So we'll know next steps. And what I was going to say to you, Jamie, is it has to go to EEA first before it goes public. So I'll talk about all these steps that we have to go through next time. I will. Does everyone want to see the red line strikeout?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, for 309, we've had red line strikeouts for almost 2 years. So I don't think I'm going to send 2 years worth of red line strikeouts for 3.09.
We spent a lot of time on 309. I think we're in a good place,
Yeah,
but like
Yeah.
some of the other sections we haven't touched in so long, it's just hard to remember what exactly we did and we didn't
absolutely.
do.
No,
Is
so
that
my only comment is that if this is a foundational section for the new members, it would be helpful.
I agree,
yeah.
and I'll do that.
Yeah, and I also think we didn't make that many changes in the others. We have recently
You
gone over
did not.
pretty clearly, so I agree that we certainly don't need that.
Yeah. Some of the sections obviously went much more quickly than others. We spent the bulk of the time on 309, but for example, section 8, Chris, if you can put up section 8.00, I'm going to use that as an guinea pig of sorts here. So on section 8.
This is 4.
Yeah, Chris, I had a correction, and I sent it out yesterday. I noticed that I had
I think
mislabeled
this is
one.
here. Yeah. Is this it?
Yep.
Okay, so 8.00 administrative penalty regulations, pardon me. We last reviewed that on October 15th, 2020. And the changes were made 8.01 subpart 2, and we changed LSP, changed person to LSP. And LSP person was changed to LSP throughout. And I'm just trying to answer some of Jamie's questions and Millie and Gail's, I guess, too. So there weren't, to your point, there weren't a lot of changes to certain sections. So I will pull that together and see what I have for a red line strikeout. In the meantime, for the next meeting, would everybody please take a look at section 5.00? Or we can do that now. We still have a few minutes left to the meeting. So, Chris, can you go ahead, Gail. I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to ask, I'm guessing that you would also like us when we go through these, because I will go through them all. And actually, I just saw something that was a grammatical issue in the the one you mentioned, the 2. And so I will go through for things like that. And if I see that, I will note them so that.
Okay, because now, and thank you, Gail, that now is the time. Chris, you don't have 5.0.
Oh, okay.
So you
Just
can
looking
stop.
like,
Yeah, so you can stop looking for it. I'm sorry, because it's not one of the ones we've worked on. So now is the time, board members and all online, to notice grammatic errors, to bring to my attention typographical errors, formatting errors, spelling errors, anything.
And maybe inconsistencies from when we started doing this in 2020 to now, when we've changed sort of whatever.
Well, yeah,
whatever.
but looking back, Gail, it really, I think I think we should pat ourselves on the back, because this is really a pretty full and we did it took us a little more than 2 years, but we really have a comprehensive review of the regs at this point.
Yeah.
I know that we started this exercise in 2020, actually before 2020. We were working on it in 2019 before the pandemic. And so the sections really are in pretty good shape. All right, so section 5.0 you don't have in front of you, but I'm going to send 5.0 around just that section I'm trying to keep things on a straight
And just to be clear,
kind
this
of,
is one we have not touched yet.
right, advisory ruling.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Beverly,
Yeah,
for
we
this
have,
is Paul here, for the newer members, like where, which sections are left, I guess, for those of us who haven't been involved in the full process? Are there many? Is 5.0 the last one?
5 is the last one.
Oh, okay. And then is there a sort of
Okay.
do you
That
envision a
long.
comprehensive page turning or review of the final document and then before it's published or something along those lines?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up a little bit, Paul. Please ask your question again.
Yeah, I mean, how do you envision the process going once the last section is done? Is there going to be like a comprehensive page turning or review of the document before it gets published for a comment?
We've got miles to go before we sleep. We have to get it perfect. We have to get it to EE. And again, I'm going to do a little refresher course next month on reg promulgation. But we have to put the packet together, and it has to be reviewed by the secretariat before we can move it any further along, before it'll get to public comment or anybody. The secretariat has to approve it.
Got it. Sounds good.
So, yeah, we've got time, and I am very aware that for Patrick, for Craig, and for Paul, basically all you guys saw us work on was 3.09. But did I answer your question, Paul?
Yes, absolutely. I just wanted to sort of overview where we go from there. So thank you.
Yep, overview. Next month, tutorial, reg promulgation. Next month, 5.0. I'm sorry, I'm taking notes. Next month, red line strikeout. All right.
Did you send 5.0 around yet, or will you?
I will.
Okay.
So my homework again is to forward red line strikeout to the board, to do a tutorial during the reg meeting on next steps in the process that we have to follow, and I will send 5.0 out for just that section for review and comment, so that we'll be, and I'll do that right away so that we'll be able to plow ahead. And I'll also develop some boilerplate language rather for incorporating the new online portal, because I know you see what I'm talking about when it says you must mail documents, and that's hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll give a further report on this during a board meeting, June or July, so we'll see. All right, any other questions or comments or things that you want me to
No, I
sort
just have
out?
a question with your boilerplate language. When instead of change, this is maybe what you're thinking of, but so it says mail, and then somewhere up front you could say mail means blah blah blah, and that could cover it.
Well, actually, mail is still going to exist.
Right.
People can. So the boilerplate language is going to be use of, and use of the LSP board portal, whatever we're going to call, whatever the system is going to be named.
But
So
it's like part of the definition, right? Like if you could not, you wouldn't have to change the language in the regulation parts. All you'd have to do is change something like the definition of mail, and it includes these following possibilities, something like that. Is that what you mean by boilerplate?
That's what I mean by boilerplate in that particular instance. But there are also a whole list of, and I included that in my email, a whole list of regulations that are impacted by mailing. Renewal notices, notices under 2.0. Just, I listed in my email the various places where we're going to have to insert some kind of boilerplate language where it says must be mailed, or, you know, it should say something like mailed and or online payment.
Okay.
I'll figure out something just for review by the board. Does that answer your question, Gail?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, comments, marching orders? No. All right. I'm all set then, David. On to you. And Gail. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to not recognize the other chair, the co-chair.
That's okay, David's there. He can handle it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I'm calling the continuing ed meeting to order at 12:25. I first want to welcome Matt. Great to have him as a resource for the board. Chris, can you let me know who's on from the public?
Yes, attendees are Wendy Rundle, Rebecca Buswell, Nancy Fitzpatrick, Christy Lefebvre, and Krista Wolf.
Okay. And for the roll call, I have Deb, Gail, Jamie, Millie, Paul, Craig, myself, Patrick, and Kirk. Is that everyone? I didn't miss anyone?
Would you mind
Greg is
repeating
here.
that roster
Oh, Greg.
so we can be consistent?
Excuse me?
Would you mind repeating the roster so we can be consistent when we take votes?
Sure. Deb, Gail, Jamie, Millie, Paul, Greg, David Austin, Patrick, Kirk, and Greg.
Well, it's also attendees at the meeting, so it's me, Matt, and Chris too.
Right, I was doing the roll call. Sorry.
Oh.
List. So I assume there's no old business.
No.
Excuse me?
No old business.
Okay, so under new business, there's 9 course approval requests. The first one is an in-person Enviro workshop today for 5 technical credits. I make a motion to approve it with the assumption that they're going to maintain sign in and sign out logs as part of their monitoring of attendance.
Second.
Any discussion from the board or public?
Hey, David, it's Kathy. I just joined. I just want to make sure I get added to your roll call.
Oh, now our list is way too long.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, everybody.
Good
Yeah.
to have you.
We miss your cookies, Kathy.
Someday we'll see each other again.
I know, someday. Sorry, David, go ahead.
That's okay. So a yes is approving. Going through the roll call, Deb,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Millie,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Craig. Craig? I'm a yes. Patrick,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and Kathy.
Yes.
Okay, item number 2 is a one technical LSPA membership meeting this afternoon, a live webinar and also on demand format. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion from the board or the public? A yes is approving. Deb,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Millie,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Patrick,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and Kathy.
Yes.
Great. The third request is Mass DEP, 1.5 regulatory credits in person and on demand, April 4th.
And yeah, quick
Those
note
are
on,
Mass DEP regulatory credits. Is that what you were going to say, Chris?
yes, I was. Yeah, Nancy Fitzpatrick just
Yeah,
messaged me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Yes, Nancy, we'll make sure that the cert says Mass DEP regulatory credits. I caught that. Yep, we're good. Thank you, Nancy. All right, sorry, David. Go ahead.
That's okay. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from the public or the board?
Sorry, this is Kathy. Are you saying it's now 2 credits? Because it's listed on their agenda as only an hour and a half.
No, I'm saying it's 1.5 regulatory credit.
Oh, okay.
Mass regulatory. Mass is not there. You know, we make that, Kathy, you know this. You help draft that section. Mass is regulatory separated from regulatory. So it's just a typo. We'll add mass to the attendance cert.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So a yes is approving. Deb,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Millie,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
David is a yes. Patrick,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and Kathy.
Yes.
Item 4 is also part of the same event on April 4th, a request from LSPA for technical credits. I make a motion to approve,
Second.
and it's in person. Any discussion from the board or the public? I'll go through the roll call. A yes is approving. Deb,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Millie,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Patrick,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and Kathy.
Yes.
We have a
Um,
question, David. Do you think we could, because they're all from the same event, could we just ask if anybody has any comments on any of them and then do them collectively?
I thought about that, and I think we tried that years ago, and I thought we weren't able to do it, but that would be a lot faster. I would love that.
Anybody have any objections?
Well, we're halfway through. Just keep rolling through it. I think it's
Okay.
best to do it individually, personally.
I think I remember that's what we decided years ago. So item 5 is 2 technical credits, the same event on the 4th, a request from the LSPA in person and then later on demand. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from the board or the public? Yes.
David, David, I have a question on number 4. I'm sorry to backtrack. Are they offering this course online on demand afterwards?
No, just in person was the request.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Just making sure so the certs will read correctly. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yep, that's fine. So yes is approving item number 5. I'll go through the roll call. Deb,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Millie,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
David's a yes. Patrick,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and Kathy.
Yes.
The next item, number 6, remediation of PFAS in soil and groundwater, 2 technical credits, a request from the LSPA, in person and then later on demand. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any comments, discussion from the board or the public?
Hi, David. Matt here. May I speak?
Yes, sure.
Was it on-demand request? I don't remember seeing that in the request.
Say that again?
It's an in-person seminar, but you also mentioned to approve it for on-demand. I don't remember seeing the request being for on-demand.
I don't think any of the conference courses are going to be for on demand. It's all in person.
For
No, I thought,
in-person and on-demand offerings, for in-person and on-demand offerings, depending on the quality of the audio recording, the on-demand course may include. Yeah, no, it's they plan to record it and potentially have it as an on-demand course. It's on bottom page 2.
Sorry, missed that.
Does that help, Matt?
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
You're
thank you.
welcome. No problem. So I'll go through the roll call approving it. Yes. Deb?
Yes.
Gail?
yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Millie?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
David's a yes. Patrick?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
And Kathy?
Yes.
Item number 7, this is the evening meeting on that same day. 1 technical credit, incident command, which was recommended by a DEP staff member from the Southeast region. They're looking for in-person and on-demand. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from the public or board? I'll go through the roll call. A yes is approving. Deb?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Millie?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Patrick?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
And Kathy.
Yes.
2 more left. Number 8, Mass DEP request for 2
Yes.
Massachusetts. For
Yeah,
2
I just wanted
Massachusetts
to say, David, I'm sorry, that should also be 2 Mass DEP regulatory credits.
Yep,
So
that's
the
what I
so-
said. That's what I have
Yep.
listed here.
Thank you.
Yep, and that's part of the LSPA event on the 4th. The request is from DEP, in person, 2 regulatory credits. I make a motion to approve.
Did they say, does that count for the online possibility? Is that?
They
would
did
that-
not. They did not request on demand.
Does Wendy, I mean, is that, so that's not going to be on demand?
It's not in the request.
So the agenda needs to, I think, reflect for each of those which one to, because usually we don't. We have in the agenda in person versus on demand.
Okay,
I
we'll
usually
fix
just-
that. We'll
Yeah,
fix that, Deb.
Yeah, when I go through these,
Okay.
I just have to write that in because you're right, Deb. It's not on the agenda, but no, this is just in person.
Okay.
It's not, but usually we put it in, but we'll fix it. Yes.
That'd be great. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from the board or public? A yes is approving. Deb,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Millie,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
David's a yes. Patrick,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and Kathy.
Yes.
The last one is also from the LSPA, 1.5 credits in person only, a meeting in June on data usability. 1.5 credits. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from the public or board? Yes is approving. Deb,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Millie. Millie, you there? Paul?
I'm a yes.
Craig?
Yes.
David's a yes. Patrick?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
And Kathy?
Yes.
Great. That's all we have. That was enough. The next meeting will be April 11th. And I'm bringing this meeting to an end at 12:40.
Beverly, let me know when you're ready. I'll kick it off.
All set.
Okay. Call to order the Professional Conduct Committee. 12:41. I presume we'll have a discussion about the meeting minutes in the main board meeting.
Well, I can go through it right now. The minutes are posted and they are through February. It says March here, but obviously we're in the March meeting, so that's a typo. It should be February, and that's up on the website. Those recordings are up on the website for all the board meetings.
Great. Was not here for last month. Do we have any old business we need to discuss?
No.
Okay. Then with that, let's jump into the CRTs.
Okay, so thank you, Jamie. So welcome Matt Line, our LSP board investigator, and Matt is going to be investigating, and I'm so excited. So we're going to, first of all, there is a typo under the docket numbers. They're 21C01. There should be a 0 there in the docket numbers. And so I've already welcomed Matt. So Matt is beginning to transition, and I'm transferring the cases that can be transferred, and I'll explain exactly what that means as I go along. Matt is already working on the active cases table, and so you should have that. We are bringing back an oldie but a goodie, so the table will be utilized, filled out and utilized for the next board meeting. So we'll talk about, and some of you, Craig, and some of you others have never seen it, so it'll be a big surprise. But we're starting to work on the cases. Matt and I just began talking about them. He does have to get access to the secure database with the investigatory material. I am going to send an email introducing him to each LSP in each of the cases, so they will now have a contact person. As I indicated in February, there were several who had contacted me, and I was just kind of asking them to hold on. And the same with the complainants. We're going to reach out to them and introduce Matt so that they now have a real full-time contact person. And that said, I'm going to give a brief report on some brief updates on the cases. So 05C, as you know, was taken under advisement by a Superior Court judge on January 21st, 2023. So we're waiting for that decision. Again, we're still trying to get Matt onboarded so he has access to all of the cases, but I am meeting with him to transfer what I can transfer. In 18C01, 18C02, there are CRT reports that have to be finalized. I am looking for the redaction software that we purchased. As you recall, it was loaded onto a computer at Winter Street, and we didn't take any of those computers with us. So we purchased the software. So IT has preliminarily told me it must be somewhere, because one of the first tasks that Matt and I have talked about is redacting 21C01 and 22C01. Those are priorities, so that those can be disseminated blindly to the board. And if we can find the software, we'll have that ready for the April meeting. We will be scheduling CRT meetings where those are needed. Again, there is one of the 18C cases that has a draft of the CRT report that needs some editing, and Matt's going to work on that. But in the other 18C case, we need to meet with the team, the CRT team. So we're going to get those things going, and we'll have a fuller and more complete report next month. I think that was all I had. Are there any questions?
Okay.
Matt, yep, go ahead, Jamie.
Hearing none, just wanted to check if there was any new business.
No.
Okay. All right, so we'll look for the resurrection of the table, which I definitely would appreciate. It is a very handy sort of reference tool to keep track of where these cases are. So that'll be great.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Jimmy, are you posting anything for vote at the LSP board meeting?
I don't think we have any items to vote on.
Okay, thank you. Just double checking.
Okay, next meeting, April 11th, and no one else has anything, we'll adjourn at 12:48.
Thank you, Jamie.
Okay, Kristen and Beverly, let me know when you are ready.
I'm ready.
I'm all set.
Great, thank you. So welcome everyone to the LSP board meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order at 12:48 p.m. And I also want to join in and welcome Matt to the board meeting. I'm very excited to have you. Look forward to a working relationship. We thank you. I also wanted to announce that the Healy Driscoll administration, together with our EEA Secretary, Rebecca Tepper, announced that Mass DEP has a new commissioner. Bonnie Heipel comes to Mass DEP. She's been appointed. She will be starting next week. And our commissioner comes to Mass DEP from a private law firm where she practiced environmental and energy law nationally. So we're excited to have a new commissioner starting next week. As it pertains to the agenda, do we have any additions, deletions, or changes? Members of the board, public? Hearing none, we will adopt this document as our final agenda. We've heard from Beverly that the virtual meeting minutes have been posted onto the LSP board page through February 2023. Thank you for that. And now we're going to be moving forward with licensing of applicants. Today we have one renewal docket that consists of one LSP that has completed all the requirements for renewal. The renewal date was January 30, 2023, and the new renewal date is now January 30, 2026. I move to approve docket number 1. I need a second.
Second.
Any discussion from the board or the public with regards to this particular docket? Hearing none, let's move forward with a roll call with a yes as approving. Deb?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Millie is a yes. Paul?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
And Kathy?
Yes.
Motion carries. Our next item under 5B is applicant petition for waiver. Beverly, if you don't mind providing a background on this. I believe we started the conversation last month, but if you don't mind just expanding upon it, that would be great.
So I'm actually going to combine item 5B, board meeting agenda item 5B and board meeting agenda item 10. This is an application a petition for waiver from an exam applicant. I think it's self-explanatory, but I wanted to apprise the board that currently we have 6 people who are eligible to sit for the LSP exam. There are 3 applicants whose expiration date is actually has already passed, January 4th, 2023. We have the current applicant who has filed this petition, whose expiration date is April 29th, 2023, and we have a 3rd applicant whose expiration date is July 8th, 2023. We have another applicant whose expiration date is December 2023, and 2 others who are in 2024, November and September respectively. But in the 2020 year of 2023, this year, there are 4 people who are similarly situated as the applicant who's before you. So
When is the next exam date planned?
I don't know, and I have a little better report on that later on in the meeting when I give the exam, the 2023 exam report. But it'll be in 2023. It won't be, however, before, if we offer it in the summer, it might not apply to one applicant, but it won't be before April 29th. When the petition.
We're planning on moving back to a biannual schedule here going forward?
If I can get things in order.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, you have to remember too that Matt is on board now, but there are a lot of moving parts, as I've explained about the exam before. Regulatorily, we're only required to offer it once, and it involves a bunch of other folks and a facility. And last November, you'll recall, we had 15 applicants, and the exam was offered over 3 days, and there was no one to help me over those 3 days. I had some offers, but nothing materialized. So now that Matt is with us, we're hoping that we'll be able to do it during the month of July, during our programming month. But that depends on whether or not we can get a location and a lot of other stuff. But the bottom line is the exam will not occur before the petitioner's expiration date.
Okay, so I just have a process question here. We do have a letter addressed to whom it may concern, basically articulating the reason why this applicant is writing. And basically, again, bolded, I am formally requesting an extension of my eligibility to sit for the LSP exam, etc. So my question has to do with, are we affirming that we will be committing to holding a meeting, a test before that will resonate with this waiver request? I just want to at least be able to speak to how do we address this petition.
Okay, well, let me talk, Millie, a little bit about what we have done in the past. This has occurred in the past. We had an applicant whose expiration date expired. I do believe that there might have been a medical reason why the applicant missed sitting for the exam, because at the time, I think the exam was being offered twice a year. But the board has granted petitions like this in the past, but the stipulation was that the person had to sit for the exam the very next time it was offered.
Okay, so
which would mean, Millie, I'm sorry, which would mean that if the exam is offered in July, that person would have to take it in July or not take it at all. The very next time it's offered. That was the stipulation that the board had allowed these petitions on in the past.
So, okay, so then by way of just form and process, is there a motion that needs to be and seconded for us to take a vote on moving forward with acknowledging this petition, or how do we respond directly to the petition, just so we can have it administratively addressed?
You allow or deny it, and if you allow it, you state the grounds, and if you deny it, you state the grounds, like any other petition before you. And so there should be some debate about it from the board members.
Sure.
And if the person is online, they can, of course, comment.
Okay. Right. So I would like to move to adopt this LSP examination applicant petition for a waiver based on the information that the party has represented and has provided to the board. I need a second and open up the opportunity for discussion between board members as well as members of the public.
I'm sorry, Millie, are you making a motion to approve?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah. I can second. This is Greg. I can second that.
Okay, let me just say that giving a person 1 year, you need to stipulate when the person is required to take the exam.
I mean, I think the past practice makes sense that we say that it's they have one more opportunity at the next available exam.
I agree. But potentially this person could take the exam twice.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Deb. Deb, I didn't hear you.
If we give a year's extension, potentially the applicant can take the exam twice if offered in
That's right.
July and late fall. So I would advocate for requiring you to take the next available exam.
Okay,
This
so
is Greg.
we have a motion with an added opportunity for the applicant to take a second test.
There was some discussion. Was that Craig or Paul?
This was Greg was trying to speak.
Oh, Greg.
I was under the impression, Millie, that you were making a motion simply to open up the conversation. And
So
then
we have a motion,
and I second it so that we could then.
and now we have the opportunity for
Right.
discussion.
Right. I would support this application, but I agree with limiting it to the next available examination date.
Rather than expanding it to a second opportunity?
No, rather than extending it for a year, which is the request. The request
Correct.
is for a full year from April 2023 to April 2024.
Yeah, I mean, what we're really trying to do here is grant that third opportunity that other test takers have had when the exam was offered more frequently, right? So I think it's fair to
Yeah.
offer it for the next taking.
But not for the full year.
Correct.
Okay, so as written, basically it states, I am formally requesting an extension of my eligibility to sit for the LSP exam to April 29, 2024, one additional year without having to complete a limited application. That's the actual request in front of the board.
So how do we do this if we want to say we'll grant you an extension only to the next offering?
That's right. That's what you did in the last time it was. So the petition for a waiver would be approved with the caveat that the applicant must take the exam the next time it's offered.
And only one time, one more option.
Right.
Totally.
Because otherwise,
Okay,
here's
so that's, yep.
we're going to need to consider, if we're going to keep granting these kind of waivers, well, we need to consider the possibility that maybe we should say, change the regulation to say you get to take it X number of times without putting the year, the 2-year limitation on it, and say you get to take it 4 times and then you have to reapply or something like that. Because if we keep giving the waivers, that doesn't make sense. We're just ignoring our own regulation.
Well, let me just say that, Gail, this is only the second or third time that this has come up in the 11 years that I've been on this job.
Okay.
So it's not something that happens very often, and I think that part of this is the pandemic. But
this is Krista Wolf just posted, this is my request. I am happy to change the waiver request language to just the next exam offering.
The board can rule without changing or without her resubmitting.
Yeah,
the board can
I think
discuss and make a vote and vote to approve or deny without.
Yeah. I would just want to say
on the papers before the board, I think they can vote.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say to Gail's point too, if we're going to go back to our past practice of 2 exams a year, that's going to give future applicants, 6 opportunities, right? So I don't think it's necessary to expand the time frame for the application.
It gives us 4 opportunities, twice a year, and they have 2 years.
I'm sorry, I was thinking it was 3. Yeah, okay, 4 opportunities.
It's fine. I mean, I think that has worked. I just didn't know how many more we might get of these and say, well, what do we really care about? The number of times it's taken or the time period in which it's done? And it may be that we really care about the number of possibilities of taking it.
I don't think
Well, actually, there are only 2 other similarly situated folks.
Okay.
So there are 2 others, and we know there's one person whose eligibility expires in December, but the exam has to be offered. It was offered on November 15th, so it has to be offered on or before November 15th.
And within that,
2023.
we'll get back to the 2 times a year soon. I mean, within that, hopefully within this year.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think
Hopefully.
you do need an expiration date, Gail, because then you get into issues of whether someone's RP situation has
Oh, yeah.
changed.
Yep, yep.
Exactly. And,
Yep.
and the thing is, if they have passed the 2 years eligibility, they do have the option of filling out the limited application, which isn't a huge burden. I mean, it's just, again, like Jamie was saying, to make sure that RP is still there and that they still have good references, and just to make sure that they're still eligible to take the exam. So,
Yep.
Agreed. All right, so
We're all in improvement on the, we're all in approval on this waiver, and the other discussion can be relative to regulations.
Yep.
Yes,
Thank you, David.
I will second the motion that's on the table.
okay, and the motion is basically to grant an extension only to the next exam offering.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so I hear a second. We've had discussion. Please say yes if you're in favor, and I will go through the roll call now. Deb,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Millie is a yes, Paul,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and Kathy.
Yes.
Motion carries as we discussed regarding the language.
Thank you. I'll send out notice.
Thank you. So now, item 6, other licensing related matters. Beverly, if you don't mind providing the board with an update, items 6 through 10.
Sure.
I think
Oh,
10.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Millie.
I apologize. I think you've partially covered 10, but you might want to add a little bit more.
Okay. So there were 449 active LSPs as of last Friday, but the numbers are going to be switching. And as I give the successive reports, you'll understand why. We received notice, I believe, last week. Alan Wyman is retiring from hazardous waste site practice. So that's one number that, so that would bring us down to 448. So the number's a little in flux, and I just wanted people to know that. Plus that we always announce retirees. Okay, so I am reporting now on item number 7, the January renewal, excuse me. So this is personnel budgeted fees, and jumping ahead. Pardon me. Natasha Dix is on leave. I do not know what's going to happen with that, but as program coordinator, obviously that position is absolutely critical. And what I am doing now, I got 30 some resumes from HR because they are aware of this, Ms. Dix being on leave. And so we're trying to hire a temp who will have to be trained and given security clearance. And I don't know if she'll get equipment or what days she'll be in the office. So replacing Natasha for now is going to be a real chore. But I'm working on it. So I don't have access to a lot of the databases, particularly the money. And so I'm working with revenue, and I'm speaking very slowly. In case you have any questions, please jump right in. Because there are, from last month, 72 people awaiting their wall certificates. There are 8 people, there are 12 90-day approval letters from last month. I'm going to do those myself this week so that people will have that, the certificates are a little trickier trying to get those out. Matt and I have been running interference and sending out emails to people who contact us so that they will know that they were approved, but their certificates, we have staff shortages and we're trying to get those done. The first task for the temp is going to be to create a listserv, because if I had an LSP board listserv of all 448, we would be able to, get this information out to them faster instead of piecemeal. So I wanted to make that announcement about the January renewals. The next item on the board meeting agenda is item number 8, and that is the annual fee report. As you know, the annual fees were due March 1st. By the way, no LSP is suffering any adverse action on their license with respect to EDEP. While we're undergoing these transitions, we're making sure that people's licenses remain active until all the issues on the administrative end are resolved. So the annual fee report, the fees were due on March 1st, but the invoice goes out, the payment is sent to the lockbox goes to the Bank of America, the Bank of America sends a report to Revenue, and Revenue sends a report to the LSP board. That's all part of the program coordinator's job. Because Natasha is out, I'm working directly with Revenue. They are voluntarily, Revenue staff is helping us go back and make sure all the payments from January are in, that all of the annual fees from March 1st are in, and they are compiling reports for us. I'm moving to number 9, which I'm adding.
I have a
Beverly?
question. When are the expiration dates on the website for LSPs going to be updated from the expiration date of 1/30/2023 for the folks who were approved in January?
Wendy just asked that same question. Are the plans to update the data port that lists the LSP renewal dates? Some LSPs with January 2023 renewals have not had their renewal dates updated for another 3 years. It looks like they have their licenses lapsed or are no longer LSPs, which is not the case.
Thank you, Wendy, for that comment. And David, for you as well, because I know you were in that category of renewals last month in the January renewal. I don't have access to that database. I'm working with everybody that I can to get all these things done. That's a separate database that I don't have access to that Natasha did.
So one person has access to this type of stuff?
Well, David, there are 3 different databases they're dealing with, okay? The website is the public-facing database, and that's what the public can see. They actually will see when an LSP goes to look up their record, they see if they're active and they can see their renewal dates. There's a second database where it's a totally internal database where we manage all of the data for the LSPs, meaning address updates, things like that. And that information is specifically for the board. The third database, which technically is one of the most important ones, is the EDEP database. I'm the only one that has access to that database. That database controls whether an LSP can post or not, can submit or not. That's the most important one, given the ability to actually submit to EDEP. So
yes,
I wait
David,
to update.
go ahead.
I have to wait until I hear from the board that an LSP has gotten in all of their required information so that I can then update their renewal date in EDEP. Because I don't have access to any of the paperwork, I can't update that date until I get word from the board.
I understand that, and you've worked with me with EDEP, which has been great. But you're saying there's only one person who has access and can change the data portal.
That's right.
That's
well,
amazing.
I mean,
That's
well,
amazing.
no,
For,
technically, technically, I can
no,
get into
no,
everything.
actually, no, it's not, David, because those functions are centralized for a reason.
Right.
And it has to do with the specific job designation for the specific employee. So the program coordinator is responsible for managing the databases. I've never been responsible for managing the databases. Lori, Matt, it's always only been the program coordinator. And we had smooth going because Barbara was doing all that work. And every time that Barbara was not there, we've had these issues. But Natasha was able to do it, and she's been on leave since February 10th. So it's just me. So even if they transfer the information and give me access, that's an additional duty for me. But yes, only one person has access to the money databases from revenue and to the ability to change information on the website. And we're going to work on it because there are, again, I'm well aware that there are actually 73 LSPs whose information needs to be changed on the website. I understand it's an inconvenience for those who are suffering, but I have to have the staff to be able to do the job.
But to be clear,
Beverly,
there's no issue. I'm sorry, I just wanted to be clear. So there's no issue with EDP though. It's only with the public facing
That's right.
portal that shows the renewal status, right?
That's right. Because what I do is keep up. Chris and I are in sync. And so as soon as this meeting ends, I will notify Chris that Mr. Van Doren, for example, has been approved and changed his expiration date with EDEP, so he will not have trouble filing things.
So
So
I do wanted to, I guess, ask the question if I understand that, first of all, thanks, Chris and Beverly, for a good explanation regarding the 3 related but separate and apart databases. Specific to the website that it's public facing makes me wonder if there's an opportunity just to have a statement so that if there are respondents out there that are looking for LSPs and the choice is predicated on understanding if an LSP is good to go regarding licensing, if there could be a statement that there are 73 LSPs that are okay.
Yeah, well, what I'm going to do, Millie, is one step better than that. I'm going to contact the person who is the administrator and see if she will go in and make these changes so that we can get it done. And
that would be great.
Yeah, it would be great, wouldn't it? So I'm going to see what she says because she may tell me she can't do it, that only we can do it. But I'm hoping through the administration, I can get someone to help me do that because I do understand how important that is to have those dates changed. But first and foremost, they are not impacted as far as EDEP and filing and their license being affected. They don't have their wall certificates and the dates haven't been changed, but it's on my list of things to do this week to get those dates changed for those 73 LSPs.
Thank you,
Patrick. I just wanted to follow up on David's comment and just ask a further question. I thought it was really useful for Chris to walk through these 3 databases and who has access to them. David, were you getting at the question of whether there might be some redundancy and resiliency in having 2 people, for example, being able to access these databases in the future, realizing the moment we're in right now?
Well, you have to understand, I mean, there's a difference between who can get and change the data and who's supposed to change the data. Technically, I can get into all 3 databases and change the data. I don't do that because A, it's not my job, and B, I have to have all of the ducks in a row, and I don't have those ducks um, because I'm not part of the board, and I shouldn't, and I should be kept separate, because I'm just the technical person. But those databases, I mean, that's the first thing I do when I get an email on the EDP help desk that they can't submit. The first thing I do is I check the public facing database, then I check the internal database to check the dates, and if those dates haven't been updated, I then send an email to Beverly and before that Natosha, and if they say, oh yes, this person, I just got the paperwork in, their dates are these dates, I then go right to EDP, and that's the only one I change, because technically that's the only one I'm supposed to change. It's not that I can't go into the other databases.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be changing those dates.
And Chris doesn't have access to the revenue database. That's one he definitely, and that is
right.
for the purpose of banking information and so sensitive, confidential Social Security numbers and banking information and all of that. But to answer your question, Patrick, if I don't have a staff person, it doesn't matter if they give all the board access. If I don't have someone whose job it is to perform that duty, then, they can give me access, but I have other responsibilities. So what I'm trying to do, again, this week, is have the administrator of the secure public website database make the necessary changes.
They will definitely be able to do that.
That's right.
So I think that gets at the redundancy, I believe, if I'm understanding it correctly. And I do understand, and I, often if I'm not available to perform my duties, in my case, regional director, I do have a deputy regional director I can rely on for sign off, etc. So I think that's the same concept that Patrick is bringing forth. Just an alternative person who is there. And it sounds like there will be someone that hopefully can make that change.
Yeah, the admin of the actual website, I believe it's Kelly Ingram, I think. She's basically one of the web managers. She can go in and change all of that. She could put a statement up saying that, we're in process of updating these dates, and or physically go in and actually change the dates. The problem is that, the other thing that I've always been told by my superiors is there are certain things I should and shouldn't be doing because I'm part of Mass DEP and I'm not part of the board.
I understand. I think this is really both an administrative problem or a challenge and a communication challenge. So if we know that the good news is so far we understand there's no LSP that's suffering potential adverse action because we actually had a docket, we voted on it last week, and it's a matter of both just administratively assisting the process and communication. I'm just hitting on at a minimum the communication part. If we cannot get someone,
we don't know if any LSPs aren't suffering. On the public data, it says their license is expired. You don't prove to a potential client or someone in the public that you're an LSP by showing that you can do an EDEP submittal. And I don't think we need to discuss any further. I think it's great that if this website gets changed soon, everyone will be happy.
Well, everyone has expressed an opinion and we respect everybody's opinions. We're an inclusive board. So I just wanted to at least let you know from my standpoint that there should be some action with regards to communication. Any additional comments regarding any of the items, all of the above? Beverly, are you all set with items 7 through 10?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
So if there's no further discussion, I'll move forward. With respect...
Yeah, well, one more thing, Wendy just asked me to say, as part of the meeting today, could the LSP board ask Chris to change those dates since the licenses have been reviewed and approved? Well, I answered her back. I will be working with you and the web admins.
I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead and read Wendy's full comment. Go ahead, and then
Yeah,
I'll respond.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
right. So she said, as part of the meeting today, could I go in and change the dates? And I answered her back, I'll be working with Beverly and the web admins to help rectify this problem. But technically, I shouldn't be the one going in to change the dates. That should be a board employee, because technically I'm
Right.
not. I'm outside of the power structure of the board. You know, I work for DEP and I just provide technical assistance for the board.
And the other part of it is, Wendy, to piggyback on Chris's comments, is that Chris doesn't have access to the paperwork. So he would still have to have a list of those names and things. And that he is, by making those changes, if he could, and he will not make changes to the dates, because the changes are made based on board administrative records that the application was administratively approved, that in conjunction with that, the fees were paid. And finally, the third prong is that the board has voted to approve that particular individual. Those are all board records that Chris doesn't have access to. I've said this is now the third time. I'm working on it. I hope to get the administrator to do that this week. Chris is not able to do it.
Yeah, there's actually a big disconnect in that getting information from revenue is really the big issue.
Yeah, it is.
You have to jump through all kinds of different hoops to actually see, because when we get access to the MARS system, it's access to all the revenue information for the state. It's not just DEP, it's not just the board. And there are these huge database files that at each level you have to get permission to see each level, and it's mind-numbingly difficult to get access to those records.
And not only that, it has to be sorted out. As Chris said, revenue gets all of the payments. And what they are doing for me now is compiling a list of all payments received since January of 2023. Because what appear, and again, I've talked to a number of LSPs who send in their documents on January 25th and the payment on January 25th. It might take a week or two for that payment to reach us. I described the process again. The invoice is mailed, it goes to the lockbox. The lockbox sends things directly to the Bank of America. The Bank of America sends a report to Revenue, and Revenue creates a report and sends it to us. That does not happen in 5 days. So if we received your renewal, January renewal, on January 25th, there's no way that the payment is going to be processed through almost 5 entities in 5 days. It just takes longer than that. And this harkens back to, if your mortgage is due on the 16th, you're not going to mail it 5 days before. You're going to mail it in plenty of time to get to the mortgage lender. And I'm just using that as an analogy. And so it takes a process. The limitation on who has access has to do with, well, we've always had a program coordinator, except for a few periods when we didn't, like now. And I didn't think it was necessary when Natasha was onboarded for me to learn or have access, because she was going to be there. And in June or July, we're going to switch over to online payments. And if we don't switch over to online payments, Natasha was going to be there. Now all of that is up in the air. And I want to make it clear that these are not crises of my own creation. These are crises that have to do with staffing. These are crises that have to do with administrative protocol and how money is processed and how documents are processed. So again,
Yeah.
for the fourth time, my plan is to work with the administrator, and actually it's Vinny, Chris, that I'm going to go through to try and get those dates changed. I do know it's important to make those changes, and I'm addressing David and Wendy directly. I am not making light of this at all. It's an important function. It's an important function.
Yeah, Wendy just said, I understand that the board doesn't want Chris to make the changes, and I accept that. My only point is that the LSP board approved these license renewals at the last meeting. I assume you don't approve them without their payment. Just pointing that out and trying to stay on topic.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, Beverly, if you have, if you could please complete your updates.
Okay. So item number 9, the exam committee, I sent out yesterday dates, and we're hopefully going to reconvene within the next couple of weeks. I've gotten some responses already. Thank you, David. Thank you, Paul. And we'll see where we go, but we should have an exam committee report for the April meeting. Any discussion on that? Okay, item 10, I briefly touched upon, and that's the 2023 LSP exam. No dates have been set yet. We have to figure out a location and all of that first. So more to come.
Great. Thank you. So
You're
agenda item number 11, continuing education committee report. David, if you could please provide us with a report.
Sure, the continuing ed committee met today. We approved 9 different offerings, and the next meeting is in April.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the findings, so to speak.
Second.
Yes. Okay. So let's go through the roster, and those in favor, please say yes when I call your name. Deb,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Millie is a yes. Paul,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Patrick, Kirk,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and Kathy.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries and the recommendations are now adopted by the board. And I don't believe we had any other business discussed, correct, David? Okay. So moving on to professional conduct committee. Looking for a report back. Jamie?
Yes, so we just briefly discussed the outstanding COTs cases, notably 18C01 and 18C02 have draft COT reports that need to be finalized. 21C01 and 22C01 need the redaction completed in order to distribute those to the board. We did not take any action that requires a vote by the board.
Thank you. So Beverly, if you don't mind just providing us with a report back or dialogue on items 13A through D.
Sure. Okay, so we met, the regulations committee met today. I am going to send out 5.0 for review and comments to the board members. I am at the April 11th meeting going to provide a reg promulgation refresher course and talk about next steps in the promulgation process. I am also going to provide red line strikeout copies of the sections that we have completed, which are all of the sections except section 5.00. And finally, I'm going to develop some plate language for the online text that we need to add into the regs at certain parts that are going to be impacted by online fee payments and applications and so forth. Item B, 13B. So briefly, Natasha's out, Matt's in, and last week some of the file cabinets that I requested in 2017 miraculously appeared. So there are 119 boxes of documents that we've moved from Winter Street, and I've talked about this before, to Cambridge Street. And so we now have some file cabinets, so we're going to begin the scanning project and trying to get some things filed and get some things stored and get some things scanned electronic, so we have more electronic records. Questions about that process? The only thing I can say about Ms. Dix is I don't know yet how long she will be out, and so again, I'm trying to hire a temp. I received resumes, and so we're going to start going through those. Matt is going to work with me on eliminating some of the folks because it requires such a specialized skill set in terms of the spreadsheets. And as you know, Barbara, I reverentially refer to her as the spreadsheet queen because she kept such accurate records and was always able to get things that we needed done. Obviously, the certificates have never been delayed in this way because Barbara was always, I was saying to Matt, she actually had the certificates ready before the meeting. And at the end of every meeting, I would email her and say, Barbara, the board approved docket 1, docket 2, and she would have the certificates ready because she had my electronic signature and Millie's electronic signature, so they would have been ready. It's just unfortunate that we've hit this glitch. And I have to say, this is the first time this happened. So Barbara was super important in making the trains run on time. I want to talk briefly about 13C online fee payments. I met with the IT team last week. They are working on fine-tuning details. We have a few more sessions before Matt and I actually try. We're going to actually go through the system and apply and try and pay fees and all of that. And I reported last month on you're going to have the ability, or folks will have the ability to pay by check for a certain percentage of the amount, and they'll also be able to pay by credit card. I'm sorry, the percentage of the amount is for the credit card. It's going to be 35 cents to pay by check. And we're still looking at, our target date is June or July of 2023 for launching online fee payments and applications. Item 13D, I wanted to talk about that because in 2022, actually I'll go back even further. In 2020, March of 2020, the former Governor Baker put into place an executive order that allowed meetings to be conducted remotely. He suspended the open meeting law and he extended it on July 15th, 2022. Well, that executive order expires on March 31st. 2023. And so I don't know what's going to happen. I'll have a report at the next board meeting about whether or not, instead of holding meetings via GoToWebinar, we'll be returning to in-person meetings. But I do want to talk about this specifically because there's a two-part question here. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that at all times, the board has been adhering to the open meeting law and providing what the executive order calls for, which was adequate alternative means. And that means providing access through GoToWebinar. That means providing access by telephone, internet, satellite, audio, or video conferencing, or any other technical means that enables the public to follow a meeting in real time. So the board has always been in compliance, and GoToWebinar is absolutely one of the mechanisms that was permitted to cut down on, in the words of the executive order, Zoom bombings. So Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, we could use cable access TV or a telephone conference line. I say that this is a two-part inquiry because I have to find out, if we go back to in-person meetings, where they're going to be held at 100 Cambridge Street, whether or not those dates work for meeting spaces there. I don't have any idea. And also traveling to the regional offices, and whether or not that's still on the table. So we'll wait and see on March 31st what the Governor Healy says about returning to in-person meetings. Did anybody have any questions? And the information that I quoted here came from the government website under the Office of the Attorney General, Open Meeting Law. And I'm happy to respond to any questions you may have.
If you're if we do wind up needing to go back to in person as of the next meeting, which it sounds like it's a possibility, unless the governor amends or.
Yeah, but it won't happen. It won't happen in April, Jamie. It would be. We're going to keep, because I won't know until the 31st. You know what I'm saying? What the Governor Healy is going to do. So our next meeting on the 11th will absolutely be another remote meeting. It's what happens after that. Yep, go ahead, Jamie. I'm sorry.
If the executive order expires, doesn't that mean under the open meeting law we can't do it virtually in April?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I won't.
That was the question.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, I won't know until I find out what they do. They may extend it. I don't know, Jamie.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, if we wind up needing,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, if we just wind up needing to pivot, to in person, and you're in a pinch trying to find a location, you can reach out to me. I might be able to help with that.
Okay.
Yeah. And the Southeast region is also available for meeting space if needed.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see. We'll have to set, because we have to set all of the locations that are in sync with the meetings that we have scheduled through June, and where we meet will depend on what space is available at which office and where, if that's what they require. So I'll have more information at our next meeting, and if we have to, if the order is expires on March 31st and they say we have to go back to in-person meetings, I'll make sure that everyone knows where we're going to be.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so our next LSP meeting, virtual or in person, we'll find out a little bit more, will be held on April 11, 2023. And so this meeting is adjourned at 1:44 p.m. See y'all next time.
Thanks, everyone. Have a
Thank
good
you.
afternoon.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.